Welcome to this podcast for Brighton School of Business and Management students studying for the HND Level 5 courses. In your responses to this assignment, you're not expected to demonstrate expertise and in-depth knowledge of the English legal system, but you are expected to show that you're aware of and can discuss in broad terms the way the system operates and the role of its key components. In addition to the core material that we provide, you will need to search for additional information on certain topics and research some actual legal cases in order to respond fully to the assignment requirements. We advise you to select, where possible, cases and situations that are relevant to your own organisation or business sector, for example, when choosing a legal entity in your response to Section 4. Section 1, for bullet point 1, a simple comparison is needed with some examples of what is a criminal and what is a civil offence to illustrate the differences. Here you'll need to briefly describe the role, purpose, jurisdiction, personnel and procedures of criminal courts, that is magistrates' courts, Crown Courts, Court of Appeal, House of Lords, European Court of Justice, and civil courts, which will include small claims court and jurisdiction, county court, high court, Court of Appeal, House of Lords and the European Court of Justice. On bullet point 3, select an actual case that you can research, ideally one that has some relevance to your organisation or business sector, and evaluate the role of the court or courts which processed the case. The last bullet point is about alternative dispute resolution. You will need to discuss its meaning, how it attempts to bring about conciliation, mediation and arbitration processes used, and the advantages and disadvantages of the ADR approach. Section 2. You will need to describe and explain the purpose of, sources of legal advice, the duty solicitor scheme, and funding sources. Bullet point 2. In the UK recently there have been a number of significant changes to the funding of legal advice and legal defence, including a major change in what is known as legal aid. And finally, just as asked, describe and evaluate the roles described. Section 3. First of all, briefly describe how these operate and their advantages and disadvantages, including judicial precedent, statute, delegated legislation, rules of statutory interpretation and European law. Here, select an actual case that you can research, ideally one that has some relevance to your organisation or business sector, and identify and describe the sources of the law which led to the case being brought to court and on which it was judged. On the last bullet point, you need to discuss how court interpretations are made, for example, interpretations surrounding words, phrases or terms, or how a piece of legislation should be applied, and then in the light of this, discuss how decisions are made. You will need to refer to common law, statute, European law, and international law. Section 4. Very simply, you need to describe the pros and cons of legal entity, that is sole trader, partnership, limited liability partnership, limited company, public limited company, and describe why one of these is the most appropriate choice for a particular type of organisation, and then justify your choice. Be careful though, as such decisions are not always clear-cut and easy to make. For example, a start-up business might avoid the bureaucracy and taxation requirements of the limited company by selecting sole trader status, but might then find that the business lacks credibility in the eyes of potential customers as it is seen as not being a formally structured and regulated organisation. By comparison, an individual offering customised consultancy services who decides on limited company on the grounds of legal status and personal protection might find that potential customers are discouraged by what appears to be a consultancy company rather than an individual expert offering their services. Here are some websites that you will find useful when completing this assignment. And if you need any further help or guidance with this assignment, please contact your tutor.